Today we're jumping into a fascinating puzzle, one that's hidden inside the longest chapter of the Quran, Surah al-Baqarah. We're asking one simple question. What's the single big idea that holds this massive chapter together?
Okay, let's get right into it. When you first read this chapter, it can feel like it's jumping all over the place, right? You've got the story of creation, then laws about fasting, rules for finance, stories of past nations. It's a lot. So, what's the single thread that ties all of these different pieces into one coherent story?
To figure that out, here's the roadmap we're going to follow. First, we'll look at why it seems so diverse. Then, we'll uncover that single, unifying theme. After that, we'll explore 4 key examples, like case studies that the chapter presents. We'll then dig into the detailed guidance it offers. And finally, we'll see how the very end masterfully connects right back to the beginning.
So let's start by just taking in the scale of this puzzle. Honestly, it's the sheer diversity of topics that makes finding its core message so interesting in the first place.
I mean, we're talking about a Madani Surah, revealed in Medina, that stretches for 286 verses. And in those verses, you'll find an incredible range of subjects, from the deepest articles of faith to the nitty-gritty practical rules for everyday life.
So how in the world do you find the connection? Well, scholars use a really cool tool called thematic interpretation. The idea is simple. Instead of just reading verse by verse, you zoom out and look at the entire chapter as one single unit. You're looking for its central axis, the main idea that everything else revolves around. It's basically the key that unlocks the whole structure. And when you use that key, wow, it reveals something incredibly powerful. This really is the aha moment of our whole exploration. And here it is, the big idea. According to this analysis, all 286 verses, with all their diverse topics, are held together by one single overarching theme, the succession of humankind on Earth. You can also think of it as stewardship. This is the central narrative, the backbone that connects absolutely everything else.
And get this, the theme isn't buried somewhere in the middle. It's announced loud and clear right near the beginning, in verse 30, with the story of Adam's creation. This single verse sets the entire stage for everything that's about to unfold.
But stewardship for what? What's the point? Well, the analysis points to a 2-part mission. The first part is spiritual, to worship God. And the second is worldly, to build, to cultivate, and to develop the earth in a responsible way. And crucially, these 2 jobs aren't separate. They're meant to be completely intertwined.
You know what's so brilliant here is that the surah doesn't just tell us this theme. It shows us. It walks us through a series of powerful, real-world case studies.
The chapter basically gives us 4 distinct models of this stewardship. It kicks off with Adam, who is the archetype for all of us. Then it gives us 2 powerful contrasting examples, the children of Israel and Abraham. And it all builds up to the final community, who are meant to be the inheritors of this entire legacy.
So first up, we have Adam's story. His journey is the prototype for the human experience. He's given knowledge, he gets tested, he slips up, but, and this is key, he repents, and he's forgiven. His story lays out the template for our own, a journey of responsibility, of making mistakes, and of finding our way back through redemption.
Then, the surah does something really interesting. For a very long stretch, it presents 2 models in sharp contrast. From verse 40 all the way to 123, we get the detailed story of the children of Israel, presented as a negative example, a community that received divine guidance but time and again broke their covenant. Then, immediately after, we get the story of Abraham, the ultimate positive model, a leader who faced incredible tests and passed every single one, proving himself to be a perfect and faithful steward.
So all of these historical case studies, the good and the bad, are building up to a climax. They're setting the stage for the final community to be given this trust, and for the detailed guidance they'll need to actually succeed where others failed.
And because this is the final community, the guidance they get is the most detailed and comprehensive. You can think of the entire second half of Surah al-Baqarah as a divine manual, a complete constitution for this final community of stewards.
And just look at the scope of this constitution. It's absolutely breathtaking. It covers everything from our core beliefs and acts of worship to social justice, laws about contracts and debt, family life, economics, and even the ethics of war and peace. It's a complete, holistic blueprint for a society that's built on this idea of responsible stewardship.
And that brings us to the very end of the chapter.
This is where the literary design is just brilliant, because the ending doesn't just stop. It loops all the way back to connect with the themes from the very beginning.
You can think of verse 285 as this incredible summary statement. After laying out this entire detailed constitution, it confirms that the community has fully accepted their role. They believe in God, the angels, the books, and all the messengers, showing that total, complete faith that's needed for this stewardship to actually work.
But here's the beautiful final twist. The surah doesn't end with a command. It ends with a humble prayer. It's a plea for forgiveness if we mess up, a request not to be burdened with more than we can handle, and a call for help. It perfectly captures the human side of this huge responsibility, recognizing that we're weak and that we absolutely need God's help to carry this trust.
So in the end, what started as a confusing puzzle of seemingly random topics resolves into one single epic story about humanity's purpose on this planet. It starts with the appointment of a steward, shows us success and failure, gives a detailed instruction manual to the final community, and then ends with a prayer for the strength to do the job. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. If this idea of stewardship is so central that it's the theme of the Quran's longest chapter, what does that responsibility really mean for you and me in our lives today?